Hi, my name is Brendon Granger and welcome to Five Star Conversations, where we talk with hoteliers making a positive impact on the hospitality industry. And today I have the pleasure of talking with Simon Wan. Welcome, Simon.
Hey, Brendon. Great to see you again.
Thank you. Simon is currently the president and director of Staywell Holdings, which is a wholly owned subsidiary of Prince Hotels and Resorts, who are the largest hotel owner and operator in Japan. And Simon's role is to spearhead Prince and Staywell's overseas hotel developments and operations. Simon has over 35 years of experience working in leading international hospitality groups around the world. Prior to Staywell, Simon was the CEO and managing director of THL, which is an ASX-listed hotel company with over 530 hotels worldwide. Prior to that, his roles included managing director of Park Plaza Hotel Group Asia Pacific and a core CEO for North Asia based in Beijing, where he oversaw a hotel portfolio of 68 hotels in that region. I've known Simon for a number of years. He was actually my first boss in five-star hotels, and the year, I'm holding up my diary, it was 1986. I was a trainee doing a sandwich year at Victoria University, and Simon was the executive assistant manager at a brand new hotel that opened called the Park Royal on St Kilda Road. And I remember, I think my father found this article in the Age newspaper, which talked about the upcoming opening of the hotel about 6 months before it opened. But the article focused on Simon and the fact that he just spent a couple of years at Cornell. And in reading that article, that really influenced me. And it's like, I want to work at that hotel. I want to work for Simon Wan. So I applied with SBHC, the group at the time. And as the history goes, I was lucky and I had the privilege of spending a whole year working at that hotel and opening that hotel. And that was my first hotel opening, and it was such a great experience. So thank you for that, Simon. I'm not sure how much of an impact you had on my early career.
I'm so amazed that you keep that diary with you, and it does, Brendon, bring back a lot of memories in a sense. And you're right. As we talk about, we can spend the next half a day or a day to talk about all those memories and funs we had, and then all those wonderful friends that we have built up tremendous relationship over the years. Brendon, it's great to participate in your program.
Thank you, Simon. Talking about where people started, I understand that you started your career at the Excelsior Hotel in Hong Kong, which for the audience is a 1,000-room hotel with 10 restaurants and bars, including a nightclub on the rooftop at level 35, and the property overlooks Hong Kong Harbour. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Okay. Well, I was obviously quite young in a sense, and got into the industry, in fact, by accident in some way, right?
Yep.
I was doing a business degree in a university called Ning Nam University in Hong Kong. And every family, and you would know, Brendon, that you have a cousin or nephew that you look up to in a sense.
Yes.
So I have a cousin who actually worked at the Excelsior Hotel. Okay. And every time we go out, he always usually have the most beautiful girl besides him, and he always pick the restaurant and pay the bills. So I said to myself, I want to be like him. So I said to Patrick, Patrick, how can I get into the hotel industry and make some tips like you? He said, yeah, you can be a room service waiter in a sense. So in fact, I started as a casual room service waiter at the Excelsior Hotel, working Friday, Saturday while I still was uni before I became full-time as a management trainee at that hotel. So that's how I started. By accident. But once I got into the Excelsior, as you have mentioned, Brendon, in those days, 1,000 rooms, I think they would have 2,000 staff, 10 restaurants and bars. It's a giant hotel. And And Brendon, you know, you're IT person. And back in those days, we have no computer. It
Yes.
was called a witness system. I don't know where you know about what a witness system. So it's a manual system,
Yep.
so to speak. So how do you control reservation? How do you control guest check-in and guest check-out? And we used to do it all manually in the sense, in back in the late 70s, in a sense. So that was how I started, and certainly learned a lot when I spent over 2.5 years at the hotel in a number of positions, including housekeeping, making beds and kitchen, washing dishes, in the sense, and to be a storeman, picking up goods and work behind the bar. But that was a great foundation for me to grow further on in the industry, Brendon.
Yep. And did you go on from the Excelsior to Cornell, or were there positions in between?
No, I didn't. I actually at Excelsior, I got promoted and become what you call a duty manager.
Yep.
And then I went on to work for the Hyatt Group, in a sense, right?
Yep.
And I joined the Hyatt Group in Hong Kong as what they call a 2 years management program. Okay. So that is a program that fast track you to become a executive, like a general manager, in a sense.
Yep.
In the second year of that program, they sent me to this hotel in Sydney. It's called Hyatt Kingsgate.
Oh, yes.
Right. So I don't know no longer there, but I was there.
Yep.
And then guess what? The general manager back then was a guy called Graham Wackett.
Oh, really?
Yes. And he was the general manager of the hotel. Yep. And then he told me one day that he said, Simon, I am leaving the hotel because I'm going to join Southern Pacific Hotel.
Yes.
And I'm going to be the, I think, the group operation director or something like that, in a sense, right? And he said, why don't you come and join me? And then you can become, an executive manager straight away. So that's when I went to Melbourne. Yep. Brendon, that's when I met you in Melbourne. So I actually joined Southern Pacific Hotels to work at the St Kilda Road Travel Lodge, which is only a few hundred meters from the new Park Royal.
Yep.
And from there, they sent me to Cornell after working for them for a while, and then came back and opened the Park Royal Hotel.
Yep. Interesting. There is so many people when you look at LinkedIn, they started their career in the Australian market at Southern Pacific Hotel Corporation. I think it was fundamental to a lot of people's career.
Well, back then it was, and you remember, Brendon, it was really the largest hotel group in Australia. I mean, apart from maybe Hilton, got a few hotels, and they were not really like the Marriott or the Starwood, no one like that. So if you want to start a career in the hospitality industry, and like you, a lot of people join Southern Pacific Hotels.
Yeah. And it was a great start. That's fantastic. Interesting. Graham Wackett. Okay. There you go.
Another old name that we will remember. Yeah, one of those. Yeah.
Exactly right.
Famous hotel there. Yes.
Exactly. Very much so. Simon, looking back at your early career, is there a funny or memorable story that you'd be happy to share with us?
Like everybody else, like everybody out there, there would be many memorable stories, some good one, some bad one, and so forth. But I think that one story that stuck in my mind a lot of times is, when someone started early in the career that you don't know much about hospitality and you're still learning.
Yep.
So I remember I was a duty manager at the Excelsior Hotel long time ago. And one night, the chief engineer called me up and say, hey, I got a guest complaint. The television wasn't working, in a sense. And I can't get it going. And the guest was really upset. And I need you to help me to talk to the guest. We meet together. I said, no problem. Let's go. So we went up to this room and come open this door. And in those days, the British Airways crew was staying at the Excelsior Hotel, because Excelsior was actually owned by Trust House Hotel in those days before Mandarin Oriental got ownership. So I walk up there, and he come to stewardess, open the door with nothing on. And as soon as she saw us, she starts screaming and saying, "My television is not working. I hope you can fix it for us." And here I was looking at that with the chief engineer, and we say, we'll do our best. And it was, and when we walk in the room, we both were shaking our hands, and we don't know where to start, right? In the set. And she was standing over us, overlooking our shoulder, right? And saying, "What are you going to do about my TV then?" Right? It was one of those stories that really stuck in my mind. And I'm sure, you, Brendon, and everybody else would have some sort of story that you remember and stuck in your mind forever, in a sense. So that was one of my experience of fixing television as a duty manager.
The key question is, Simon, did you both get it working, or did you?
Yeah, I think yes. We end up making it working, and funny enough, that it took us a long time to fix it.
Isn't that interesting? I think, as you said, a lot of us have got stories, and I'm sure one thing hoteliers are very good at is keeping those stories and keeping confidentiality. But we see guests sometimes at their best and sometimes at their worst. Definitely.
Yes.
I remember, Barry Humphries used to stay with us at the Park Royal in Melbourne. So
yes,
we knew Barry Humphries quite well.
Yes, he's certainly a genius. It's a big loss to us, in a sense. Absolutely amazing person.
Yes, definitely. So, talking about that, Simon, is there anyone or anything that you get inspiration from? It doesn't have to be a single person, but it could be Graham Wackett, it could be someone in the hotel industry, or it could be someone outside.
Well, I think I talk about my cousin Patrick. I think that was the guy that really inspired me to join the hospitality industry. And then I think because of him, I managed to build a career in this industry, in a sense. And when I was at early age, he really taught me a lot about the industry, what to do and not to do, in a sense. I think he is certainly and one of my inspiration. I think the other person that inspired me a lot to take on a different, pathway, a roadmap in my industry is a guy called Raymond Capdevila, who was the group CEO of Accor, and a Frenchman who came to Australia from France to set up Accor Asia Pacific, in a sense, and really in those days, Accor probably only have, I can't remember, probably 20 hotels in Asia Pacific region. And now we're talking, Accor is probably the largest hotel group in Asia Pacific. So I've learned a lot from him, the inspiration he has given me and the encouragement he has given me to go and try and try things that, you have dreamed about, and never say no and never give up, in a sense. And so there's another person that inspires me at later part of my career, Brendon.
Yep, that's fantastic, Simon. I remember vividly one thing that you said to me in my early career, and that is, you need to have initiative. And I've always remembered that. And I've done some interesting things in my career. I've done some things that were, if I stopped and thought about them, were probably foolish at the time. If I thought too hard, I thought I couldn't achieve it. And so I think you're right. You need to, just take that leap of faith sometimes.
Well, I think you certainly, Brendon has built as we talk about, you certainly have built a very different pathway, but a very successful pathway within the industry and in a very interesting position, and where you keep contact with all hotel groups and industry personnel, and you see them from a bigger picture, but you also see them, in the details, and you get to know them very well, but in a very specialized, but a very important area, in a sense. So I think not too many people would have the courage and the mentality of preparing to take risk and start a business on his own and back himself, right? And that is something that I think, I admire you a lot, in a sense, what you have done, over the last 15 years, in a sense.
Thank you, Simon. No, I appreciate that. Simon, is there something, and there might not be, but that you're not many or not even some of your colleagues know about you? Do you have a special skill, magic tricks, juggling?
When you were young, you dream about things that you wanted to do, right? So when I was really young, I wanted to be an international soccer player, right? Okay. I'm sure that every young kid watch television and want to be a sports star. So I actually play pretty well in my younger days until I have to wear glasses. And in those days, you can't really play soccer and wear glasses because glasses were expensive. And I still remember tying rubber band, tying the glass around my ears, in a sense. So after that, I said, maybe I'll get into music. So I learned playing guitars for a number of years, and I formed a band in my younger days, and we managed to get some gigs in pubs and so forth. And obviously it didn't do very well, right? No one picked us up. It wasn't a good talent, in the sense, wasn't exactly Rod Stewart. So I think I would love to one day get back to my guitars. I have 2 guitars at home. And when I get stressed, and maybe on the weekend, I pick up the songbook, and I can play away with a couple of hours, with my guitar, and really get into it, and that take me away from all the stress and worries and so forth. So one day, you never know, I might get back into a band, maybe a very old band, and play the rock and roll again.
That's fantastic. See, that is something that I would never have guessed, from soccer to having a band. That's great. Simon, just on that, before the interview today, I asked you if there was anything you could have printed on a T-shirt. What would that be? And you said "Live life to the fullest." Now, I believe you've got that T-shirt with you, but
yes, certainly.
We made it a black T-shirt.
Yes.
You've got a black background, so
yes. Okay.
It's like
you guys see.
It's like the cloak of invisibility on Harry Potter. So tell us about that statement, "Live life to the fullest." Where does that come from, and sort of, why is that so important?
I am so blessed, I believe, so lucky, been able to enjoy, my working life for the last 40 years in this industries. Met a lot of very interesting and nice people, including yourself, Brendon, in the sense, and we talk about a few others that we have, some of them I still keeping in touch with. Work for a lot of hotel groups, from the British to the French, to the Americans, now with the Japanese, and work in many, many cities around the world, live there and experience the lifestyle, try the food, go to all the famous restaurants, and have so many international friends, in a sense. So I believe, we should treasure life, what God has given us, health, in a sense, as well as energy. I think those are important, and a lot of good luck, in a sense. So I'm sure everybody would appreciate, life is short. You can't take it with you. A lot of things you can't take it with you. And so when you have that moment, when you have that, people around you, you should really enjoy it and live it to the fullest, in a sense. Don't waste one moment. And I feel that strongly the older I grow, more time I spend in this industry. These days I really enjoy, nurturing the younger people, the younger manager, to realize their potential, to realize their dream. And that gives me a lot of satisfaction in doing so. But along the way, I always say to them, do your best, absolutely 150%, so you can sleep well at night, but at the same time, enjoy life. That work and life balance is so important. I think we have just gone through, a tremendous 3 years of, COVID, the economic meltdown, business meltdown. And we never had to close the hotel in the past, because you never need a key to the front door of a hotel, because people say to you, a hotel never closes. It's a 24 hours, 365 days business. But guess what? During COVID, we have to lock the front doors of a number of hotels, a few times. So, and because of that experience, the more I thought about it, the more important I think that we should really treasure the time that we have got, here, and all the good luck that we had given us, and all the blessing that we have received. So let's live life to the fullest and enjoy it.
I totally agree. Yeah. We don't know when our time will come, as you said. So treat each day with as if it could be your last, and live it to the fullest. I love that.
Yes. Yes.
I love that. Simon, as you know, I like technology, I like hotels, and I love the guest experience. So I'll ask a couple of questions in that area. The first one is, it doesn't have to be around technology, but is there a trend or an emerging trend in the industry that either really excites you or makes you a bit anxious or nervous?
No, I embrace technology, Brendon. You know that. I'm not a nerd like you, and know a lot about technology, particular hotel technology. But I don't know whether you know that I actually study IT part-time, a programmer.
Really?
When I was yes, I don't know, actually, when we worked together at the Park Royal in Melbourne,
Yep.
I actually studied IT programming at Collingwood Tech for 2 years. Right, 4 nights a week, and I actually got a diploma. So I used to be able to write programs and track, for example, like the loyalty card program and all this sort of stuff, in a sense.
Yep.
Now, obviously, got away from that now because of other priorities. However, I do think technology for the hospitality industry, no different to any other industry, is important. Yes, it could be a threat, but it also could be something that can enhance productivity as well as values of the business, in a sense. You only have heard, and we all been hearing about this, Chat GPT, and how that would destroy career and destroy life and so forth. I don't believe that. I think that would actually enhance our experience, so we can focus our energy and do other things. Particularly after COVID, with the challenges that we're facing with the labor around all the countries. We have labor challenges in most of hotels internationally, obviously from Australia. Singapore is very, very bad. Middle East is bad. UK is really, really bad. We even have labor challenges in India, who has got 1.4 billion people, in a sense. So I think technology might be able to help us to resolve some of those, issues. In particular, talking about, robot, talking about that the hotel app that the customers can talk to the staff much faster and get what they want to see much faster. So I think if we can use it wisely, I think technology is a very important tool, and is a very important avenue that we can use, in a sense. So I think we should embrace technology, in a way. And for the industry, for labor-intensive industry, this is critical, in a sense.
Yep. And I think your point is we need to use it wisely. I always say that, technology is not necessarily a replacement for staff. What it can do is those boring, repetitive, dangerous tasks like ChatGPT, giving your staff time to actually dedicate to the guests, doing things that technology can't do. So it's a mindset, to be honest, making sure that we actually use technology for the right reasons. Interesting about India, because I hadn't heard, India was probably one of the only countries that I heard didn't have labor shortages, but it makes sense. It's a global issue. And I think it's going to be with us for some time. I mean, you know, migration's improved in Australia, but we still have not only hospitality, but across all industries. I've got friends in all industries that everybody is finding it difficult to get, you know, the appropriate number of staff for their organization. Yeah.
Well, I mean, just give you some example. You know, I mean, everyone understand how bad Singapore is because of the visa quotation.
Yep.
But even if you go to London, our hotel in London, I mean, 70% of our staff in our hotel in London are migrant from European country or other countries in a sense. Only 30% are actually local people now. So, and I think that apply to, you know, Australia in some way, particularly the non-skilled positions. And that is a global issue. And how do we solve it long term? I think technology could be a solution in some way.
Yeah, I think you're right. Simon, is there, if you had to think about it, is there what would be one of your biggest learnings around technology as you've come up through your career? As you said, you started in hotels when Whitney was around, pre-computers. I learned Whitney at university. I never got to use it. I was responsible for taking it out of a number of hotels in New Zealand in the early 90s. I put computers in and replaced Whitney. But is there something, as you've gone through your career, a learning that you've had with regards to technology?
Yeah, well, they are certainly, if you talk about technology and IT, you know, what changed in the 40 years, it changed dramatically. You know, from Whitney to now, we got a whole host of PMS system that has got fully integration capabilities in a sense. But I think one thing that we haven't done very well in a sense is, you know, customers, and I've observed it quite a bit, customers still spend, you know, 10, 15, 20 minutes to check in at some hotel sometime and check out in a sense. So I think airline is a bit ahead of us in terms of technology, in a sense. And I think certain other industry are probably ahead of us in a particular, like retail, like Amazon. You know, if you go try to order something, Amazon is so fantastically easy to use in a sense, and they track you and keep sending you email what you like to buy and so forth. One thing that I think hotel hasn't done well is to have a fully integrated technology. We still rely on a number of smaller supply specialized in the industry. So I do think that we still, I think you're in this area, I still think that is still a lot of interfacing to do. I still think there could be technologies that can speed up customer check-in and check-out in a sense. And now we still haven't been able to go and select a hotel room like an airline seat, right? In a sense. And we haven't been able to do a upgrade lot of technology. Yes, we tried to sell it to people on check-in, but we still haven't got that capability to continue upselling. So I think we still have a bit to go in the hotel industry to be able to have a consolidated approach. I think that we're still slightly behind a number of other industry who has got better technology than hotel industry in a sense. So I'm excited with the opportunity that how someone like yourself, Brendon, can help us to bring in technology to get to give the customers a better experience overall in a sense. It would be wonderful one day that you can go and book a hotel and you can then select your room, your outlook of the room and everything else that you can select, and that will be there. I think that would be wonderful. And that will give you a much better guest experience.
That's great. There's some great comments there, Simon. And look, the technology is there. It's not fully integrated, as you said. We still rely a bit too much on interfaces. But, you know, I was talking to someone the other day, and quite rightly, if we were clever, we could actually leapfrog over the technology that airlines are using and go straight to the guests doing everything on their own phone. It's a little bit like countries where they skipped, having home phones and everybody just went straight to getting a mobile. Why would you put a landline phone into your home these days if you didn't have the infrastructure? You just give everybody a mobile. I think we could potentially do that in our industry, and airlines, because there are some airlines now that are going away from the kiosk and just saying to the guests, look, you've got everything you need in your own hand on your phone. You can do it all, from check-in before you get to the airport, boarding pass, print your luggage tag, put your luggage, the luggage tag will come out of the printer just by scanning a code, put it on your bag, and away you go. There are some big advances in the airline industry. I actually checked into a Rex flight on Sunday, and you do your own bags, and it just streamlined. Literally you would normally wait for even 15-20 minutes to do a bag drop. Now you don't wait at all. That's fantastic. To me, that's customers.
Yeah, the other thing that Brendon did, talking about, obviously you and I've been around this industry, and the good old days, how the business come into the hotel. I still remember when I worked at Holiday Inn, 60% of the business come by holidecks, in a sense, so all in-house. Now, where did Booking.com come from? Where did Expedia come from? How did Airbnb is the largest hotel company without owning any hotel? So I think for hotelier like us, particularly those that like you and I have been through a few decades of experience, I think maybe we can think about what would be the next big change in the landscape. How did Booking.com, right, that was never there 15 years ago, now become the biggest source of the booking at any hotels? Right, in a sense. How did Airbnb build inventory of hotels and offering customers a variety choice of accommodation that they own nothing, in a sense? So for someone like you, who is much smarter than me, Brendon, I think you need to think of the next. What is the next breakthrough in our industry that will come and make it easier for the consumer to book? The Amazon didn't come, the Booking.com didn't come, the Uber didn't come, the Airbnb weren't there. And these are all technology companies. So what is the next breakthrough, Brendon? Maybe you can give us some guidance on that.
All right. Leave that with me, Simon. There's a challenge. Oh, gosh. We were speaking about staff before, obviously, and the shortage we've got. One of the things that I think was that, obviously it's been there for a long time, but I heard a lot of CEOs as a result of the pandemic saying that, the staff experience is just as important as the guest experience. Are there certain things that you're doing now at Staywell and Prince to enhance your team experience?
Absolutely. And that is something that we are very conscious of. Not only us, I think every hotel group is doing the same. So we have launched about 12 months ago a retention strategy plan. And within that plan, we have got a number of components, in a sense, that try to reduce the turnover rate at hotel. And at some of our hotels, we actually have had over 100% turnover within a year, right, in a sense. So, and a couple of things I can share with you. For example, in our regional offices and head office, we have much greater flexibility in terms of working hours. So that's why today I'm actually working from home. And we only now insist the staff to come to the office, 3 days a week and sometimes 2 days a week. And they can have a bit more flexible hours, in the sense meaning that you really don't have to start 8:30 and 5. You can start at 10 o'clock and finish at 6 p.m., whatever, as long as you complete your task, in a sense. And I think that is expected in some countries and market. And I think that has improved. I think the quality of life for certain employees, particularly those who got younger kids or living far away from the office in the city, They can save an hour and a half traveling time to come to office, and they can spend a bit more time, working from home. We trust them. We don't have to monitor. We don't have to put a camera in the house to see where they come to work. We trust them in a sense. I think that build a trusty relationship with the employer and employee. We have launched a birthday off program. So on the birthday, you can take a day off in a sense and still get paid. It's a feel good type of thing. We're not really talking a lot of money, but it's fantastic. We have launched a perk box. I don't know if you heard of that, Brendon. So it's a buying app that the employee can enjoy discount when they buy through this app, in a sense, and we pay for that, for each employee to be part of that. And the discount is amazing. For example, I think you can get about 4% discount on Amazon. You can get about 3% on Coles and Woolies, and Harvey Norman is like 10%. So range from Apple, I think is 3%. So the lower discount is 3%, and the highest discount is up to 50%, 60%. Wow. And they cover about 25 retailers around the world. So that is in Singapore and that is in UK. On average, each employee save per annum about $2,000 in a sense after tax. And the other beauty is they can share the app with their friends and family, as long as they're happy to share that password. So if you got a family of 4 people, 5 people, and everything buy through discount, and that is great. So that is another retention strategies that we have to add, value and benefit to the employees, and so forth. Plus all the other, we've got about 20 items within that retention strategy. But I'm just sharing with you a few of those. And as employer, I think we need to be really conscious about lifting our retention and reducing the staff turnover at the hotels.
Yes, very much so. I think, unfortunately, too, we need to relaunch hospitality as a great place to work as a career. I remember talking to one of my other guests, and we were speaking about the program that the services or the adverts they run on TV showing that the lifestyle you can have in the military, the comradeship, that's all available to us in the hospitality industry. You can travel anywhere in the world. As you said, you can get a job. There is so much that you can get out of the hospitality industry that I don't think people really understand unless they've been involved in it.
Yes, I said you're right, Brendon. Yeah.
In your blood. Simon, as we get ready to finish up, I just wanted to sort of ask a question that looks towards the future and maybe, think about what do you think the hotel industry will look like maybe in 3 years from now and 10 years from now? And is there any advice that you would give us to help us prepare for what the future might hold?
Yeah, I think I would like to have a couple of points that in some way link to what we talk about it. I don't think our technology is at the forefront of comparing to other industry. I think we're still a bit fragmented in a sense. We might have a stronger technology base in some country, but maybe we can't extend to another countries in a sense. We've got multiple supplies in the supply chain. We need to have a better integration in a sense. We need to, as you said, leapfrog maybe the airline industry or the retail industry to give better guest experience, in a sense. So I think certainly we need to think a bit harder on the technology part of it in a sense. And I think people should see technology investment is a longer term investment in a sense. And we are not going to solve this labor issue for another 2 or 3 years to come, and will continue to be here in a sense, right? And you would have, you would know some hotel don't get to the full inventory. They can only sell 60-70% of the rooms because you can't find anyone to clean it. And if you go to Singapore, you can see a lot of restaurants actually only open half the space because they can't find any serving staff. And I think so therefore we really need to uptick really need to think about technology investment as part of our solution. That's one part of it. The second part of it we also have touched on in a sense is we have Airbnb, which is one of the biggest threat that we got two biggest threat. We got someone like a Booking.com and Expedia out there controlling a lot of our customers that we can't get to, that we have lost in a sense. And these customers now has got a lot more buying power than we'd like them to have in a sense. And then we got another, sort of disruptor, Airbnb, who are now offering, more inventory than the combined hotel industry can offer. Yep. So I think what we need to do in the industry is we need to think about, okay, I've seen a number of business models that people are already been using, you would have known all this fractional ownership in a sense that is certainly very popular, in the United States, and now is in a lot of that has been introduced in this part of the world. The time sharing sort of up and down, gone down a bit because of the reputation, but certainly fractional ownership and time sharing in a sense. So I think as hotelier, we need to think about how can we utilize a very expensive real estate, very expensive land to be able to build a product that is a bit more flexible in a sense. So I think the next breakthrough will certainly be a combination of this model in a sense. Do we need someone to own the entire hotel, or should we have multiple ownership of the hotel in the sense? So people have enjoyed the income and return, but at the same time, we can give the customers a bit more, a better guest experience, a bit more flexibility in sense. Do we need to have, all 1,000 hotel rooms that are completely owned by one operator? Can we have 3 operators in the one building so we can draw on different customers? We can share that, that back of the house in a sense, right? So I think we need to come up with a more flexible model. The other thing that we need to have is, we have in hotel industry, and you would know that very well, Brendon, we've got a very high fixed operating cost.
Yes.
Right now, and our margin is minor, and similar to the restaurant industry, the margin is very, very low. In Australia, if you can make 10% or 15% from running a restaurant, you're doing a great job. Now that margin is tight in a sense. So how we can improve our margin from our departmental operation, that is another challenge that we need to look at in a sense. So, and I think people are already doing that, Brendon, right? We're outsourcing a lot of the restaurants now. Yes. We're outsourcing housekeeping, cleaning now in a sense. So hotelier these days are a lot more flexible in a sense. Okay. We're outsourcing housekeeping. Hey, do we need to run all our restaurants? We don't, in a sense. If you go to Las Vegas, most of the casino actually outsource all the restaurant or have a partnership with a celebrity chef in a sense. So I think we are bringing in that flexibility of business model into our industry. I think we need to continue to bring that flexibility into our business model for us to be competitive and increase our margin in a sense.
That makes sense. That makes sense. And I like the idea, as you said, more fractional ownership. It probably does make it a little bit harder for someone like yourself as a hotel management company when you've got 100 owners rather than one. But if it makes it more viable to get a project off the ground, then so be it. It's interesting. So there is a lot of change that we need to take on board, I think. I think one of the things that's come out of the pandemic, of course, is the fact that we need, I love your point, I never thought about it. There are hotels that, as you said, don't have the key to the front door because they've never needed it in 30 years of operation. They've never closed the door. And all of a sudden, I'm thinking back to the Park Royal, those doors, I don't think actually had a lock on them. So, they probably had to get some sort of chain, and padlock it up if they actually closed the property. Simon, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. You've sparked my brain going, as you always do. I've really enjoyed it. Thank you.
And thank you, Brendon, and for your invitation. And I love talking to you, particularly talking about the good old times and all the friends that we have met through this industry and maintaining contact with them. And also congratulations to you, Brendon. You have carved a pathway that is slightly different to a traditional hotelier, but in fact, it's a very exciting pathway in the sense you're actually at the forefront of the industry. And we need people like you and the company to really drag us forward in a sense. And as we talk about, technology could be one of our solutions to make this industry more competitive and more flexible. So I think we should embrace it and don't feel threatened by it in a sense. So thank you again, Brendon.
Thank you, Simon. I totally agree. Embrace it. Don't feel threatened. It can be our friend if we use it wisely. I love it. Thank you so much, Simon.
Thank you. Nice talking to you. Bye-bye, Brendon.